This no soup chicken and noodles casserole recipe is easy, healthy, and delicious. Chicken and noodles is an absolutely fantastic combination in soup, and it's also great in a casserole. However, a lot of the recipes for this classic comfort food dish call for a can of condensed soup, and if you know me, you know that I do not like to cook with condensed soup because I feel like it has an odd aftertaste. So instead, I'm going to make this casserole recipe with sour cream, cheese, and onion soup mix. It's going to be lower in calories, it's going to be healthier, it's going to be delicious, it's going to be great. Here I have 8 ounces of frozen peas and carrots that I microwaved on high, covered for 3.5 minutes. As you can see, they're cooked, but they're not mushy. Exactly what we want. Then I took off the lid and I let it air dry for about 15 minutes because I don't want the casserole to be wet. Of course, we need egg noodles. Here I have 225 grams, 8 ounces of egg noodles that I cooked. I boiled them on medium heat, gas mark 3 out of 6, for 8 minutes. As you can see, they're cooked, they're soft, but they're not mushy. Of course, we can't forget the chicken. Here I have, I would say, 1 1/3 cups, 300 grams of shredded chicken. As always, I took some chicken leg quarters, I would say about 1 1/3 pounds. I took off the skin, most of the fat, and I boiled it in my homemade vegetable stock, carrot, celery, onion, garlic, and the all-important bay leaf for 2 hours. Then I took the meat off the bone. You can use rotisserie chicken, baked chicken, whatever you want to do, but if you do boil it, I highly recommend that you boil your chicken with bay leaf. It adds so much flavor. Of course, there's the sour cream. Here I have 1 cup, 240 grams of sour cream. I'm using fat-free, but you can use whatever you want. I'm going to use 1 packet of onion soup mix. It adds a ton of flavor. Some spices, half a teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, parsley, oregano, and basil. Most chicken and noodle casserole recipes don't have quite as much spice, but we're taking away some of the fat, so we need to add some more flavor. Over here I have 4 ounces, half of an 8-ounce block of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. I'm also going to add an egg to help hold everything together. A little bit of salt because the vegetable stock in which I boiled the chicken did not have any salt. And I have this measuring cup over here because depending upon how loose the casserole is, I may add some milk just to make sure it's creamy. So everything is cooked. So all we have to do is assemble the casserole. I'm going to add the noodles here, the chicken. When you add the chicken, make sure that it is in somewhat small pieces, like this. I'm going to add everything, or most of my ingredients to this bowl, then I'll bring time for a change in plans. As you probably thought when I emptied the strainer into the bowl, that is a lot of egg noodles. When I started mixing, I realized that it would be way too much for my 8x8 casserole, so I took out some of the noodles. I would say for an 8x8 chicken and noodles casserole recipe, 6 ounces of noodles is probably what you want. I'm going to add the other ingredients while I talk. Honestly, even while I was boiling the noodles, I realized that they seem to expand more than other types of pasta. And I honestly don't have a ton of experience with egg noodles. I usually use whole wheat pasta. And these egg noodles, they definitely expanded more than the other types of pasta did or normally do. So that is why 8 ounces was way too much, because I would usually use 8 ounces or half a pound of pasta for an 8x8 casserole. Here is the sour cream. And if you think about it, at least in the United States, most egg noodles are sold in packages of 12 ounces, not 16 ounces like most other pasta. So maybe that's why. Because as you saw, 8 ounces of egg noodles is actually quite a bit. Because the noodles expand so much when they cook. So if you just buy a normal 12-ounce bag of egg noodles and you use half of it, I think that will be perfect for an 8x8 casserole. A little bit of salt, I would say 1/8 of a teaspoon. The onion soup mix going in. And my spices. I'm going to crush them in my fingers as I put them in. I am kind of inventing this recipe, so sometimes when you make a recipe for the first time, you have to adjust it as you go along. I've added everything except the egg. I tasted it and it tastes great, but as you can see, it's a bit dry, as I was kind of expecting. So I'm going to start off with a 1/4 cup of milk. I'm going to put it into the bowl that had the sour cream, just to help me get out the very last bit. And I'm going to add it and then stir. I think all it needs is another 1/2 cup of milk. So I put my egg into the milk, I beat it, and now I'm just going to add it to the casserole. I am using skim milk, by the way. Like I said, this chicken and noodle casserole recipe is a healthy version. I'm done mixing everything together. My casserole is just how I want it. So now I'm going to pour everything into my 8x8 casserole dish, flatten it out, and then bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My chicken and noodle casserole is now done. It was in a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven, uncovered, for 35 minutes. Although I was really curious to see how this turned out, of course, I let it cool down before digging in. This chicken noodle casserole with no soup recipe was actually really good. It had a really delicious yet subtle flavor because, as with all of my other casseroles, the combination of sour cream, onion soup mix, and some other spices made this great. Together with the filling egg noodles and the frozen vegetables, this casserole was definitely a one-dish meal. Although I was definitely pleased with how this turned out in terms of taste, I have to admit that it wasn't quite as creamy as I would have hoped. Close up, you can see the inside is moist, but honestly, I'm not sure if I would call it creamy. Like I already said, I really liked the taste of this casserole, so the lack of creaminess didn't bother me. However, if I were to make this again, I would probably add about another 1/2 cup of the sour cream in addition to the milk that I added. Actually, if you just wanted to add a whole 8-ounce container of sour cream along with the milk, that would probably help a lot. However, if you add extra sour cream, I would definitely add another egg just to make sure that the casserole holds its shape when you cut it. In all honesty, it's really hard to get things that are creamy if you don't use soup and you try to keep things lower in calories. So like I said, I was actually really pleased with how this turned out. I also learned about egg noodles. I was really surprised by just how much they expanded while cooking. In fact, I used what I learned in this recipe when I made my tuna noodle casserole, so I didn't have to do as much guesswork. And don't worry, that recipe is coming soon. So, if you're looking for a chicken noodle casserole recipe with no canned soup, definitely give this one a try. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.